Yo, what's up, everybody? Happy 17th of the month. This is Cosmic Origins. My name is Jace. We have some updates to talk about this week, some exciting things to talk about in the whole digital asset space, in the world, with disclosure, with this whole crazy process the planet is going through right now. So, before we jump into that, I wanted to say I have a brand new free crypto training for those of you guys, especially that are brand new to cryptocurrency, brand new to this digital asset space, and you want to know how to at least get started, get the ball rolling, get your private wallets and that kind of stuff set up, and generating passive income. So this training will show you all the basics on how to do that. Go check it out. The link is in the description below. There's a number of things we're going to talk about today, but the main thing is that right now, XRP is pumping pretty crazy. It was up about 12% today. Now it's about 8%, starting to see a little bit of a minor correction, but the rest of the market is down. Let's actually check out coin market cap just to give you an idea of what's going on with the rest of the market. Coin market cap, if you don't know, is really the best kind of resource for coming and seeing overall what's going on. So actually now we're starting to see the rest of the market come up just a little bit, but XRP is definitely leading. I mean, look, we're at up 8.86% right now. Everything else is only really up 2, 3, 4%. And earlier this morning, it wasn't even that. So something is going on, and many are speculating that we're actually getting an official decoupling of the XRP price from the rest of the market. So I want to talk about why that might be. We're going to talk about Amazon and how Amazon was commissioned to create the digital euro, essentially, and how Ripple is involved in that. We're going to talk about the new White House executive order, or maybe it wasn't an executive order. Maybe it was just an announcement. But the White House put out some things about digital currency, CBDCs, things like that. We're going to talk about what went on with the Ethereum Merge. So maybe you've heard of that, maybe you haven't, but it's one of the bigger talks in the crypto space. So I want to give my thoughts on it. And we're going to go over just a couple of other different things. But really, like, I believe that we are very close to this crazy transfer of wealth happening. And if XRP is actually beginning to decouple from the rest of the markets right now, let's zoom out to the weekly candles. We can see we're down a lot, where each of these candles is 1 week. So we're down quite a bit, and we have a lot of room to go up. Sorry about my dogs going crazy in the background. They're excited too. So real quick, for those of you guys who are watching, please share, please subscribe, hit the like button, helps out the channel. And the other coin that's pumping right now is Corium. So Corium is another one of the big projects that I'm into and that we talk about in my coaching program with my students. It's one of the best passive income opportunities right now, where if you hold the Solo token on the Sologenic DEX, you get the Corium token airdrop to you every month for free. Comes out to about 44% APY for annual yield. So that's like really, really good, especially for something that's in the XRP ecosystem. And right now, there's no direct way to safely create passive income from our XRP in particular, but the Sologenic ecosystem and the airdrops of Corium are really like the closest thing right now, especially as we're waiting for Flare to launch and as we're getting that whole ecosystem coming up in the near future. Sologenic and Flare are going to be the two main platforms that I'm watching that are going to allow us to create passive income on our XRP. So let's see. Here's a tweet from the account that was formerly called Crypto Whale that is now called Crypto Vinco, because Crypto Whale was banned, and now they are Crypto Vinco. So Crypto Vinco says, XRP seems to be decoupling from the rest of the crypto markets. A mega whale purchased over 500 million XRP yesterday, while other coins tanked. Do they know something we don't? And here's another one that says XRP is primed for another bull run. Mega whales accumulating. The moving, I think that's moving average something is very oversold. I don't know too much about that one. RSI is below 50. Strong support at 30 cents, which we've seen. We've seen us come and test that 30-cent level over and over and bounce back up from it. So that's like, right around here. And I've pointed out on a couple of my videos that David Schwartz, the creator of XRP, actually called the bottom of the market, I believe it was around July 13th. Yep, right here is where David Schwartz tweeted to the moon, which if you follow David Schwartz, he's constantly tweeting cryptic messages and things that give us a clue to what's going on. And that was tweeted at literally the most bottom point in the market on July 13th. And since then, we've only gone up in average overall. Now we're all the way up here. We've come back down and kind of come close, but we never got below that point. So I've been watching that very carefully, and I find that extremely interesting. So, CryptoVinco says, I believe we will have another mind-blowing pump in the coming weeks and months, similar to Q4 of 2017. And in Q4 of 2017, that's when XRP saw crazy percentage gains. It was like, I want to say it was like over 100,000% increase in the value, and it was the best performing asset of 2017 on the planet. So if we're going to repeat something like that, we're going to see crazy levels of gains. And this is part of this transfer of wealth. So when we talk about like the greatest transfer of wealth to ever hit the planet, this covers a number of different things. Part of this is the potential for a Jasara Nasara type situation, right? I don't bank on that because I don't bank on free money. But if there was a redistribution of assets that were either stolen or held by legacy groups, I'm not going to say the name because I'm really bad at this, but the groups that have held money illegally for long periods of time outside of the control of the people, it is possible that these are going to be redistributed or somehow worked back into the public, but I don't think there's going to be a free handout. However, that could be a transfer of wealth within itself. And if there is some kind of free handout in terms of a Nasara Jasara straw man account type situation, it would be distributed through XRP. That is my prediction, because XRP is set up to do that job, right? It is the settlement solution. It is the solution for this super old, outdated SWIFT banking system for cross-border payments, right? Again, like we've talked about, the quickest way to transfer money right now is literally to get on a plane and fly a bag of cash or a bunch of gold or something to your location. If you're going to do like a wire transfer or something like that, it takes a couple of days. So it's literally quicker to fly it there. And that's a liquidity issue. That is an issue in how quickly we're able to move and access financial energy around the planet. So this is what XRP is solving. This is like its particular use case. And if we do get some kind of Nasara Jasara, free handout kind of situation, I would bet money. I'd bet XRP that it's going to happen through XRP, because can you imagine everyone getting a check in the mail for a Nasara Jasara type situation and then trying to go to the bank, trying to cash in their checks? It would be a nightmare. I mean, we're already seeing a huge lack of, lack of liquidity, but a lack of reserves in the banks, where there's bank runs happening in many countries around the world where people are going to their banks and they're not able to pull out their funds. Like, digitally it says their money's there. They go to the bank, they want it back. Oh, we don't have any money, right? And I actually just talked to a student the other day who was a former banking employee. She worked in that system, and she saw it straight up that like, oh, there's no reserves in this system, right? There's nothing actually backing up what we say you have. And so this is the problem with the current financial system. One of the big problems is that you may think you have, $10,000, $20,000, $100,000, whatever in the bank, but when you actually go and try to use it and claim sovereignty over it, it might not be there. And that's a major issue. So that's the main thing that XRP is going to be solving with this global liquidity crisis. And the other aspect of the redistribution of wealth and the largest transfer of wealth is the actual movement of the money from people who were in these legacy systems to the new generation of investors. And so even within just the investment into these new projects, when they are revalued at their higher prices, and I don't mean revalued like some central group is going to revalue them, because that's part of the issue with the RV that I see within itself with these, various national debt-based currencies that people are investing in because they think they're going to be revalued, which they might, and that would be great. But, XRP is kind of like a stock in the sense that the more traction it gains, the more popularity, the more utility on an international level, the more that the governments and the various financial institutions and Ripple are using this for its use case of settlement, inherently that's going to drive up the value. And I'm going to reference an old tweet from David Schwartz where he said that the value of XRP is much more practical at $1 million per XRP than $1 per XRP. And that's because as someone moving around large amounts of money, it is much easier to move $1 million of XRP where one token's worth 1 million rather than a million $1 tokens. It's a much lighter load on the blockchain network itself. And so practically speaking, the value can't be dirt cheap, and that's what David Schwartz has said. It has to be at a high value for it to fulfill its use case, or vice versa. For it to fulfill its use case, the value then would consequently be much higher. And so this is the transfer of wealth within itself, not just with XRP, but with the similar systems like XLM and the other ISO 20022 compliant tokens, which is the new financial messaging system that is coming into play on the world scale. And so when this happens, we're going to see huge amounts of money be put in the pockets of people who are not normally in this world and acclimated to that kind of wealth. And this is the beginning of this transfer of wealth, and the beginning, in my opinion, of the fourth density, as we would say, start on the planet. And not that the money is directly correlated to the vibrational frequency of the planet itself, but when we're talking about moving into the new density or the new dimension of being on the planet, what we would call the fourth density of being, there are a lot of characteristics that back this up, but one of them is personal empowerment, personal sovereignty coming from the heart space. And so I think that this is going to be catalyzed through this transfer of wealth of XRP in particular, and that we're going to see a lot of star seeds in particular and a lot of conscious beings who are of service to others and are of service to the planet coming into huge amounts of wealth that were really just in their dreams before. And this is going to create the catalyst for us to be the change that we want to see in the world. And so I've said this before, but I don't think we're going to have a savior come in and do it for us. I don't think we're going to have a president or some off-planet group or some savior in any kind of form come in and be the change for us. I do think, however, that we will be given the tools to be the change that we're looking for. And that's where I see XRP playing a role in this esoterically. XRP is not the savior within itself. Just like Trump, just like any ET group, just like anything else, none of these are saviors. We should not be looking at these as the solution to our problems. However, XRP is the tool with which we will be able to establish our own sovereignty and create the change we want to see in the world. So to me, this is like the core catalyst of how we're going to be that change and create these planetary changes that we've been hoping some other person would be able to do for the planet, and just release these technologies and essentially give us the life that, we want. But really, we are the ones that we've been waiting for. And it really comes down to us over and over that we're going to be the change, but we're going to be given the tools from God to create this change on the planet and create the planet that is of service to humanity and to the planetary health itself. So let's jump back into this here. So we talked about, if you're just joining, we talked about how XRP is starting to decouple from the rest of the market, which is very interesting. And let's talk about why. Well, There was an announcement in the past couple days that the European Central Bank has selected Amazon to develop its digital euro e-payments system. And so there is a relationship between Amazon and Ripple already. And so many are speculating that now what's happening is that this is an indirect way that Ripple is going to be creating the e-payment system for the euro. And I want to play you this clip real quick that is from a Ripple employee from, I'm not sure how old this is, but I think it's probably like a year, maybe a little older, before this news came out on Ripple's relationship with Amazon. So let me make sure the mic is on. Okay, and I'm just going to click play on this. It's only 25 seconds.
We talked to a lot of our customers around the world, and I was surprised that even large customers the payment where it needs to be. And this was the case of Amazon. I was surprised that even large customers, it takes them 3 to 5 days to get the payment where it needs to be. And this was the case of Amazon paying merchants cross-border and taking weeks for that payment to arrive. 5% of payments fail using the traditional wire system. We talked to...
Okay, let's listen to that again. So he specifically says Amazon and references Amazon as a client of theirs and how they solved this cross-border payment solution with Amazon.
To get the payment where it needs to be. And this was the case of Amazon paying merchants cross-border and taking weeks for that payment to arrive.
This was the case with Amazon paying merchants cross-border and taking weeks, not just days, but weeks for it to arrive. And then he talks about how about 5% of the settlements through the wire system don't actually go through. So for one, this is an old broken system, right? The legacy banking system is old and broken and dying. But for two, this is direct evidence that Ripple is working with Amazon. And this could be the reason that we're starting to see this pump. So perhaps there are institutional investors or institutions themselves that are buying in because of these deals essentially and what's going on behind the scenes. So Amazon is an interesting group because just to talk about them a little bit, I feel like Amazon was taken back by the forces of light, if you will. I feel like they are one of those groups that we've seen go from being the dark and representing the dark to now being used as a tool or a puppet by the forces of the light. And, if you think about what Amazon does, they actually do provide a really amazing practical service for people to be able to have a central, reliable hub to make purchases. The issues with Amazon are the centralization of it and if they're, actually working to enslave humanity and, probably what they were originally set up to do. But much like the way that I think Joe Biden is actually a puppet for the light as well, I think that Amazon is also following suit. So to me, this lines up with that theory, and it shows us that there is traction being made for XRP's use in not just financial institutions, but in commercial institutions like Amazon. So it is interesting that the European Central Bank would select Amazon specifically, but maybe it's their indirect route of working with Ripple. We'll have to see what happens. What was also happening over the past couple days is the White House put out this, I guess it's not technically an executive order, it's a fact sheet, statements and releases. So they released the first ever comprehensive framework for responsible development of digital assets. I'm not going to go into this super deep or really that deep at all, but just wanted to give you kind of a general overview that there's developments with the White House, continuing to look into this space, advancing responsible innovation. They talk about utilizing NFTs. They talk about fighting illicit finance, exploring CBDCs, which is a topic I want to get into in a little bit on the stream as well, talking about CBDCs. But yeah, just more progress. And like I said, I think the Biden admin is a puppet of the forces of the light. And my main feeling behind that is that it's just so obvious what's going on with Biden. Like, it has to be a operation to awaken people to what's really going on, because the lack of functionality of whatever that being is, and just how much they screw up on a daily basis, and how they can't even speak, and it's just ridiculous, right? So to me, it has to be the forces of light that are using this as a method to wake people up. And so to me, that all lines up with what we're seeing with this. Okay. The other thing I wanted to talk about was the Ethereum Merge. So this is one of the biggest things that happened in crypto over the past couple weeks. You may or may not have heard about this, but the second largest crypto, Ethereum, had an event called the Merge, where essentially they are moving from what is a proof of work blockchain to a proof of stake blockchain. Proof of work is what Bitcoin uses. It's reliant upon the mining mechanisms. If you're familiar with the concept of mining, having to have these energy consuming, rigs that are computers that are all decked out, have a bunch of specs that are just doing calculations and algorithms all day in order to create the validation process. So Ethereum moved from that proof of work mechanism to the proof of stake mechanism, and they called this event the Merge. Now, the Merge is something that's been hyped for years now with Ethereum. People have been looking forward to it for a very long time, saying that it was going to fix all of the problems with Ethereum. And the problem is that it didn't fix all the problems. It actually barely fixed any of the problems. And that's why I have fail in the title, because what people thought it was going to do a couple of years ago, it didn't do, which the main things were the gas fees, which are the insanely high transaction fees, as well as the speed of the network. So it's super slow and super expensive. And those are the two main issues with Ethereum as to why it can't scale to a much larger audience. And despite those being the two main issues, this merge actually didn't fix either of those. All it's doing is making it, as they say, 99.9% more energy efficient. Okay, so that's cool. That's great. Better to be energy efficient. But it didn't actually solve the core issues. So the other problem is that, and creds to Crypto Mason here, 2 of the addresses now on this new proof of stake version of Ethereum control 46% of the entire Ethereum network. And so that is a massive amount of centralization. And I wanted to use this to explain the difference between centralization of supply allocation and centralization of validator nodes. Okay, so a lot of people that are pro Bitcoin, pro Ethereum will look at XRP and say, well, it's centralized. The supply is centralized because Ripple owns almost half of the circulating supply of XRP, which technically it's not even circulating because it's locked in an escrow and can't be used. But even if it was able to be used and pulled all out, which they couldn't, they will look at that and call that a centralization because the supply has, because Ripple has a large part of the supply basically. Now, the difference is what's going on with Ethereum is the validator nodes are what are centralized, which is actually what people should be talking about when we're talking about centralization of a blockchain. Because what actually matters when it comes to centralization? The important thing is that you don't have a couple parties that are able to call all the shots and make all the decisions. And so what actually gives you that power on the blockchain is the validator nodes. So the validators are the ones who are actually validating the transactions and deciding if the network gets upgraded, if it's going to have changes, if it's going to be forked into a new blockchain. It has nothing to do with the supply allocation. It's all the validator consensus. And so even though with Ripple, they own a vast majority of the supply, they own less than 5% of the validator nodes, which means that they don't actually have control over the governance of XRP. Whereas these guys with Ethereum, these two addresses that control 46% of the nodes, they do have control effectively over the governance. And this is the same problem that we saw with Bitcoin in China and with Ethereum in China, where Bitcoin and Ethereum are their validator nodes, their mining mechanisms are mostly controlled by a select few individuals in China. And of course, the government can, exert control over these people. And this is something that Brad Garlinghouse of Ripple has brought up publicly multiple times, that there's a heavy Chinese centralization over Bitcoin and Ethereum. And this is the direct evidence of that, not necessarily linking it to China in this example, but that these two nodes own 46%. And I would be curious to see actually if these are Chinese owned nodes. I haven't looked into that. But that is the difference between supply centralization and validator centralization. The validator centralization is what actually matters when it comes to controlling a blockchain. So that's an important thing to know and an important thing to keep our eyes on with this. So let's talk about Corium for a second, because Corium also uses validators, and Corium again is essentially building as an extension of the XRP ecosystem. So Corium is created by the same developers of Sologenic, who are directly funded by Ripple, originally as a part of their Xspring venture capital investments. And so Sologenic, Corium, same developers, same team. And so what they're doing is Sologenic is built on XRP and utilizes the XRP ledger. But they've created this new blockchain to complement it called Corium, which is a brand new blockchain. And Corium is for the people, governed by the people, distributed to the people. So rather than having like a pre-sale like we've seen with so many other cryptos, including Ethereum, where they sell privately to their private investors first, Corium is distributing the entire supply of the Corium token, of the core token, to the users of the network and the community of the network. In this case, by holding the Solo token, you get that Corium token for free. And so again, this is one of the biggest passive income opportunities that we're taking advantage of right now. And the Corium network itself is set up to be really successful. It was announced recently that it's actually ISO 20022 compliant. So that's major, because not all cryptos out there are compliant with this new ISO messaging system. Only a small handful are. It's like XRP, XLM, IOTA, Algorand, and a handful of others. And so I'm seeing Corium as one of the biggest opportunities for us to get involved in an ISO level blockchain that is still really, really small. And since we were talking about the validators, I wanted to talk about the opportunity to actually become your own validator on the Corium network. And this is something that I'm going to be doing, and something that you can do too. And because we're so early in this space, we can actually become a validator at a reasonable investment cost compared to blockchains that are way more popular, that have already blown up, where it's very expensive to actually own enough supply to become the validator. So in this case, to become a Corium validator, you only need to own 10,000 Corium tokens. And once you own those 10,000 Corium tokens, you can apply with them to become a validator. And when the network goes live, you may be selected to be one of those validators. And so to actually run a validating node, all you need is a computer with these hardware specs. And then you need to be able to run the developer code called Cord. And so there is technical knowledge that needs to, be had to be able to do this, but it's not super, super complicated. It's something that the average person could learn or teach themselves. And so I just wanted to put this out there, that this is an opportunity if you have over 10,000 Corium tokens, which is worth about probably $2,500 right now. This is a really good opportunity to be able to become a validator. And so by being a validator, you are able to make a larger passive income than the average person who would just be staking their core to the network. And so there's a calculator here. Right now they're estimating about 8% APR, and you can see based on how much you have, how much you would make. And so yeah, you could check that out. I just wanted to share that with you guys, and give you the opportunity to be able to become a validator. So all right. What else? Honestly, there's not too much else to talk about on this live. Kind of wanted to keep it short and sweet. If you guys did have any questions that you want to throw out for Q&A or just have a chat about something, we can do that. The only other thing I wanted to say is, like, I want people to start thinking about what, if you haven't already, like what you're going to do with the wealth that will be coming in through investing in this new financial system. And this is one of the patterns that I've seen that's really cool about this community, is that most people do have an idea of what they're going to do with this new abundance of wealth. So some people want to set up healing centers. Some people want to set up retreat sanctuaries. Other people want to set up food growing opportunities, more advanced agricultural centers that are actually healthy and serving the planet and sustainable. Myself, I want to get involved in anti-gravitic essentially anti-gravitic, but electromagnetic gravitic technology. So I want to be able to invest in some of these black budget projects that we know only exist in the black budget world and that haven't made it out to the public yet. And for me, that's like the merging of the two things that I'm really interested in, which is the disclosure of these technologies and the contact that I think will come with them inevitably as well, and merging that with this new financial system. And like I was saying earlier, I really think that the massive amount of wealth that is going to come from this new financial system is going to be the catalyst for how people are going to create the change. And so personally, these technologies, these black budget technologies, the things that have been hidden from humanity that could help us so much, are what I'm really interested in exploring and bringing more into the world with this transfer of wealth. So yeah, that's one of my main focuses, and it's cool to see that everyone's got like their own niche of what they're gonna do. So anyway, I'm gonna keep this one short and sweet. We've been on here 30 minutes, so I think that's a good length. I'm gonna start to wrap this up, but hope you guys have a great rest of your weekend. We're gonna see what happens with XRP. It is still kind of pumping here. Let's go back and check it up real quick. So yeah, we're kind of going up and down now that we've gone all the way up to 37 cents. But like earlier, we were down at the 32-cent mark just a couple days ago. So we're up quite a bit, and we'll see if we keep on breaking out. Again, on the weekly chart, we have a lot of room to break out. So we could see some massive breakout. And then the Bitcoin, let's see if I can pull it up. The Bitcoin XRP chart is also looking really juicy, where we could see some XRP dominance over the Bitcoin price, which we haven't seen in a while. Let's see, where is it? There we go. Okay. So yeah, we're starting to see a little bit of breakout in XRP Bitcoin dominance, and if that continues, then we could really see some major shifts here, especially with some more announcements about the international use of XRP for digital currencies and for cross-border payments as that gets built out more. So thank you all for hanging out, and hope you have a great rest of your weekend. Peace out.